Hi, everyone. So today is April 15th, and I'm recording a special sort of extra session to talk about the magic makers and to work on some of the key themes that the magic makers helps us reach out to. And that is trust, and that's bravery, and it's softness. And we've had a couple of votes for softness and a couple of votes for trust. So it will be curious to see exactly where this session goes, but let me describe a little bit of why this work has come into the world, because I think that will help people understand, A, what the session is about and that vibration that I'm coming from, and what, where we're kind of, headed to, what the light is that we're working, moving forward to. So the work today is really about the interplay between our ability to live out the life that is a part of our curriculum. And curriculum is a Chinese medicine term. It's kind of like our contract for this life. And it's the interplay between that contract and the brutality that is around all of us at the minute. So our immersion in brutality is heightened, especially because we're exposed to it 24/7. And that's not to mention all the different things that are going on in our very personal lives, but the wars, the capitalism, the destruction of the ecosystem, all sorts of like high, intense levels of brutality are being thrown at us all the time. And what that's doing is activating these old contracts, both from society and as agreed by our ancestors, oftentimes so that they could survive, sometimes so they can be comfortable. And those old contracts are really lighting up because there's a vibration that's very similar to it, and to the intensity that we have around us. And for me personally, I liken it to, I don't know if you guys ever had this thing called tetherball, but it's like a pole that's stuck in the ground and there's a rope and a ball at the end of it, and you circle, like you're hitting the ball, and its only choice is to stay tethered, and it's just circling around this center pole. And that center pole is really the brutality that is kind of keeping us without possibilities in our lives. And I just got to a point where I realized that it was like I was enslaved to this dynamic. Every single horrific situation that was happening, either in my life or in my family, situation, or in my past that I couldn't get myself away from, or in the news, that all of that was keeping me really actually enslaved and not able to live out my contracts, live out my curriculum, actually do what I came in this body to do. And so at some point I realized that it's unacceptable for me to keep doing that, and to stop. So one of the things I've had to stop doing is actually looking at the good guys and the bad guys, and which one am I and who are they, and the navigating of all of those relationships, and the waste of my life force energy, when all of that was all about othering in any case, which doesn't agree with me. So functionally, I wasn't making the difference I needed to make and I could make. And I started to see this as something that felt like I'm going to just try and choose my words really carefully here. It felt like basically a horrific game that was being played on us. I started being able to see those patterns through my own spiritual work. And I realized that we were being played. And this isn't going to be everybody's truth. And it's not going to be universal. But I realized that for me to bring forward what other people need, that are aligned to that, is not a bad thing. And so in order, this is basically where magic makers came from, particularly with the horrific atrocities of October 7th and everything that's unfolded since then. And my friendship group and everyone I know being so animated with it and seeing so many people come off their path. Not all the time, and some work is absolutely good, but also realizing that when we are aligned to that brutality, when we're seeing it, when we are, fighting against it, then we are actually propagating it by feeding that matrix. And so I really wanted to offer, as I said before, another way to meet this. And from what I know about spiritual work is that means doing the inner work. That means going inside and looking at, okay, what part of my life force energy is being still held by these structures that keep us in this horrific, brutal matrix. And so that's how the Magic Makers was born. So basically, I wanted to provide kind of like a taster session for this work. And I wanted to make sure that, yes, we're looking at trust, bravery, right? Bravery to choose a new way, trusting the universe that it will hold us because we are honoring our own contract. And then the softness, the compassion, the self-love that's absolutely needed. And to do that in this context of working with that vulnerability in our dreams and stepping into awe. Remember how perhaps it was even just 5 minutes in your life, perhaps of having just so much adoration for being in this body and being on this planet. And the more we can activate that within ourselves, the easier it's going to be for us to move forward and to make the differences that we know we can and need to be made at this point in time in, I'll be big and bold here, in humanity. So we're going to go into the session now. Hopefully that made sense. And moving into the session, we're going to hold a real ceremonial space here. I can feel the energy rising up in me. I can feel the permission for something big to unfold. So allow yourself, if you don't have huge amounts of energy for healing right now, I always talk about like a dial on our forehead, to just turn the dial down where this doesn't have to land all at once. You can have it coming through 2% of what it would normally, and allowing that to filter through maybe over 50 days. So just give yourself, notice in yourself, just how much energy have I got? How much do I want this to hit me today? And let yourself be kind, be compassionate to yourself, and let it be easy. Let the healing be easy. So making yourself comfortable, settling yourself into a chair, a sofa, be on a bed, whatever makes sense to you. If you need to walk around, do. Just make sure that you are in a space where you're not in any danger, and you're certainly not driving or anything like that if you're listening to the recording. Let's take 3 deep breaths. And with each deep breath, I want you to start recognizing and taking your gaze a little bit outside of yourself. Your gaze and your senses, your sensuality, your feeling, what you're noticing in your body. Noticing What is supporting you? I am supported by this chair right here. I'm supporting my hands on the desk. There is solidity around me. There's support by my home, by my office in my home. There's support even from Zoom and the internet. There's support from the very air I breathe as I breathe in source, and then I return to source with my breath. Starting to notice the give and take that is happening with you and your environment at all times. This is a form of trust. We trust the chair, the sofa, the bed. We trust the air. We are actually receiving from source constantly. And we're giving back to source as well. And we're opening up the space now, allowing your guides, any you're aware of, any you're not aware of, that are here and connected to your curriculum and your highest and your greatest good for this lifetime. Allowing them to be here, helping you filter through and navigate this session, bringing in exactly what's perfect for you. And I am connecting to my guides. I'm calling in with gratitude the earth, the sun, the moon, our solar system, our galaxy, and the whole universe itself, calling forth any of the masters who have some help to give for all of our highest and greater good. Calling forth the compassionate and loving ancestors who know exactly what you need in order to move through this, in order so that you can grow a new branch of the family tree, standing on the shoulders of giants, I'm calling in the four directions and the guardians of the directions. I'm calling in the center, connecting to the heavens and to the earth, meeting in myself and meeting in each of you, being held by the five elements and all of the phases moving with perfect ease for the betterment of your physiology. Moving now into the session. And this is where we will find the places in your physiology that are struggling to be well with this concept of trust and bravery and softness. And the first port of call in this journey is to work with the Wei Qi. And Wei Qi is from Chinese medicine, and it's our protective energy. It resides just above our skin, and just below our skin. It resides in all the places where we meet the outside world. So that means even inside our mouth, inside our digestive tract, inside our urethra and our bladder, inside our ears, our eyes, up our nose, of course, our mouth, all of the orifices. Our Wei Qi is there to help protect us from climactic influences and from other energies that are just not actually helpful for us. And when it comes to the news and the horrors that are in the news, our Wei Qi has been weakened, basically from the bombardment of how much we receive of them. And even if we don't pay attention to the news much ourselves, it's in the space that we are in. It's in our society. It's in the milieu. It's in the sea of energy that we're surrounded in. Society is addicted to it. So our Wei Qi has been weakened by this. We also are weakened in this protective energy around us through an internal emotion of powerlessness. And this powerlessness is linked to survival in the ancestral lines, makes it easier for us to be seen as not a threat. So as women, sometimes even as men, it was really important on many levels for us not to be seen as a threat in order to not be persecuted. In many of our families of origin, we had to be powerless. Again, so we didn't threaten the status quo, so we didn't threaten the power structures. But that all was a lie. We are not powerless, and we don't need to be powerless. And so part of this session is going to be ramping up our Wei Qi energy. And we're going to do that just through the power of my focus. We're going to be holding the intent, all of us, for moving back into that trust, moving into bravery, moving into the softness that we all have at the core of our being. So that the circulation will happen because it's the appropriate thing. We have an acupuncture point coming in here, and this is one that's just below the ankle on the outside. It's on the right-hand side, just below it. And this point is one that allows us to reset away from external forces that have penetrated and disturbed our physiology. This point is called extended meridian. And it's like we are extending out our energy. A meridian is where our energy flows within our body. And this extension of the meridian is like at the outreaches, and we are saying no more. We are releasing this energetic force that is disturbing how we deal with the world. The next port of call on our journey today, and excuse me because I burp as things start moving, is we're going to work with another Chinese medicine concept. You guys are getting a lot of Chinese medicine today. And this is about the heart itself. and the spirit aspect of the heart, which allows us to connect to what is called our Shenming, the brilliance of ourselves. So the spirit and our heart, the brilliance of our spirit itself, connected to the spirit realm and what is appropriate for us in this lifetime, what the guides have available to us, what source is providing so that we can sing our song. So this brilliance of the heart that is aligned to heaven, this has been struggling to play its music. And the reason for this is the pandemic. And all of us will have been hit differently during the pandemic. Some of us will suffer still from effects of COVID. Many of us can be suffering from that, the inflammation that it created within us and the locking in of old brutal patterns. It was very good at that. We will also have the leftover effects of very much the us versus them. That was a big part of a lot of how we responded. And the reverberations of that feeling unsafe, feeling sad, feeling isolated, feeling shame, feeling fury and anger, feeling powerless, all sorts of things that came in during the pandemic. And those things have made it a lot harder for us to reach those higher orders of understanding of who we are, that greater information. And so it's like we've kind of lost connection to our source code. And it just makes it hard, makes it really hard for us. So this part of our journey wants a solution for this. And this is a part of energy, a sea of energy for us. And the sea of energy is just here. So it's basically nipple level from maybe prepubescent, if you're anything like me, right at the lower part of the sternum. So not quite as low as you can go on the sternum, just a little bit further up. So if you can just reach in and for me, I have to tap kind of on my bra, basically. But if you can just hold a very gentle focus for the tapping that you do here. And let's just do a few deep breaths with gentle tapping here at this beautiful point within the breast that is a sea of chi point. Well done. So we have in us seven different ways that science at least has found that we can meet the world, a sort of attitude. And they've termed this emotional operating system. So these are the ways that our hormones and our neurotransmitters will come in and we'll be in a certain mood. We'll be in grief, we'll be in anger, we'll be kind of seeking things. The one that is off for us, that is making it very hard for us to be in trust, be in bravery, be in softness even, is play. So play is a place that we will learn the most. where we will challenge ourselves the most. That place of trust is a big part of it. The best way to describe play is a place of rough and tumble, where you get to really challenge yourself. Say if you had a sibling and you were able to do rough and tumble, but not in a brutal way like it ended up being when I was a kid, but where everybody gets to sort of try out, how strong am I? How capable am I? How can I get you to see how strong you are, how capable you are? It's this thing of like, it's really cool to be in a body and to be trying out our energy on the world and seeing what it does with the push and pull. And that playfulness, it demands a certain level of trust, because we wouldn't be able to go in without trusting that somebody's not going to go over the top, right? It demands a certain amount of bravery. Oh, can I really push myself a little bit here? And even softness, the softness of knowing when to yield, when to say, oh, okay, that's enough. Softness to ourselves, of not to push ourselves so hard. Softness to who we're playing with, like not to sit on them too hard, or, you know, put their hand behind their back, or whatever it is that, you know, we might have done in the rough and tumble. Oh, sorry about the noise, everyone. So that play emotional operating system, it's not working so well because we have too many of the fear communicators. And these, some of you might have heard of these things like epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, noradrenaline, are known by two words. Glutamate, cortisol. There's a number of different ways that the fear communicators can be there. And overall, the fear communicators are just, they're just way too ramped up for us. They're 3 times too high for us to be able to be in play. 3 times. Frankly, I was thinking it'd be a lot more than that. All right. And why is it? And this is where we're going to reach into the history of what we've all come from. And this is related to capitalism. Big broad swoop on capitalism, which I think none of us has really escaped from that are on the call. And it's the fear-based aspect of capitalism. It's the, am I going to be good enough to, it's basically like that sense of play of like, how good can we each be? But it's lost it's lost its closeness with the softness. It's lost the boundaries. It's lost the trust. It's interesting. I've never thought of it like that. And in lots of ways, it's also lost its own bravery, just kind of moving in on itself, only seeing exactly what it wants to see. Like it's a real self-capitulating nonsense. So capitalism has activated fear within us, where it's happening 3 times what we should normally be at a baseline. Okay, there's another story here that's ramping up our fear communicators. And so now I'm seeing that the capitalism aspect is 3 times as much. This is actually 10 times as much. And where does this come from? And this is basically our family of origin. And this is the confusion the sorrow, um, and the fear of moving beyond um, our family of origins in terms of what our mothers and our fathers were able to do in their lifetime, or at least when we were children. So for us to choose another way for how, outside of what our parents did, there's a level of rejection that is in that. And we might have wanted to do that when we were children. But within that rejection, we rightly saw that we would have been rejected ourselves. And so it's so important for us to look at this and to recognize that that stopped us and that brought up huge amounts of fear within us. And we've been dictated to by this fear. And this is a fear of not belonging if we don't do it their way. And so I don't know if you can read my sign behind here, but it says, you can choose another way. And it's not a betrayal. So the truth of it is that we're not betraying our family line by choosing a new way, by choosing to access whatever it was that wasn't available to us from that divine matrix of the mother, divine matrix of the father. That when we choose that, when we go through our parents and then access that, we are not dishonoring them. We're seeing them in their divine child state and seeing that there were certain things that didn't really penetrate or land for them. But that doesn't mean we have to hold ourselves back. And so we are not holding ourselves back. We are stepping up and saying that this old way that I have been, where I have been basically 30 times more played out within fear, or fear is played out within me, and I haven't been able to play in this lifetime. So what is it that our collective consciousness of our bodies needs in order for us to bring play back by turning down the volume on fear? Hmm? This is coming in as something very personal for each of us. And this is our favorite song that reminds us how powerful, capable, and aligned to love we are. That's a big ask, right? So I don't know. I don't know how many of you would be like, automatically, I've got a song for that. Or like, wow, that just blows my mind. I have no idea what the song would be. I suggest don't think about it too much. It doesn't have to be something where the lyrics are powerful and capable and I'm aligned to love. Maybe it's a song that just was present in you when you were at your highest aspect of feeling those things. And it might not have anything to do with that. It just was something that allowed you to feel um, more in your power, more capable, and more aligned to love. Okay, so don't overthink it too much. Just let yourself find a song that really resonates with your happy place, that place of being just adoring being in this body of yours. Okay. We're going to finish off this roadmap for today with an emotional release. And what we're needing to release out of, the situation we're needing to release out of, is the situation of being of the situation of betraying our belonging. And I need to bring in another concept here. We have lots of levels of belonging, right? We belong to a friend group. We might belong to 10 friend groups. We belong to our family of origin. We belong maybe to the land that we grew up on. Maybe we belong to the land we were born on and a land we grew up on. Maybe we've moved. We belong to a vibrational essence that is similar to us. Some of us might see those as elements, like in the 5 elements. We might see that as connection to a star chart, like your astrology. We might see that as connection literally to the stars and star people. What we've been living with is the possibility of conflict at every level. If I belong in my family of origin, I can't talk about and belong to the star people that I feel associated with. These two don't match. We've been in a place of having to dance and shapeshift and change in order, oh, I can belong here for as long as I look like this and feel like this and vibrate like this. Oh, I can belong over here as long as I vibrate as is appropriate and as you like it. So this place of dancing and shapeshifting and being brutal to ourselves because we didn't want to betray any of those belongings, as if there wasn't one of us. We've been acting like there's more than one of us. There is one of us, and we are allowed to be multifaceted, multidimensional in that sense. So this brutality in ourselves, that's what we need to clear. And for those of you who haven't done this technique before, it's called emotional resolution. And we like to take a look at it and say, okay, what are the emotions from this brutality? And then how, if I were to gather all of it up from my lifetime, like how big of a mountain would that create? How much space is that taking up in my cells? So I'd like you to think about the emotions that you have for this brutality that you have done to yourself, that you're betraying your belonging by not shape-shifting well enough, or whatever it is. What emotions do you have for that? I'm going to give you a few moments. So I'd like you just to keep thinking about what emotions are there, and I'm going to explain what I'm feeling from the group. So for me, I notice fear. I definitely have fear around this. But overall for the group, it really wanted to work at the level of grief, the emotion of grief, and even panic, which is a form of grief. It's separation distress. And grief is a form of not belonging, losing contact with something that is dear to us. You might find anger, you might find worry, you might find sadness, as well as fear or grief. You might find confusion. Honor yourself in all of this. And now just let yourself come to a number that makes sense for the biggest number there is. Or how much of those emotions are living in you that are taking up way too much space. For the group, the number I'm getting from 0 to 10, I'm getting at about a 7 to 8. For me personally, I'm getting a 10. So you can see there's a nice range of these things. The most important thing is that you see exactly what it is for you and you honor yourself. These are the emotions that I've been holding on to in my confusion about whether or not I'm betraying anyone or anything, old contracts, my friendship groups, whatever it is, by not shape-shifting well enough. And this is the brutality I've put myself through. And the reclaim here is exactly what we wanted, which is softness. It's softness, it's compassion, and it's self-love. All right, so we're going to do the session now, or activate the session rather. The emotional resolution takes a little bit of getting used to, so please let me show you first if you've never seen this before. Those of you who know what to do, then rock on, go ahead and do it. But the first thing that we need to do, we're combining a head turning technique like this, just straight across. With a breath, we're breathing in as we turn our head to the left shoulder, breathing out as we turn our head back to the right, in to the left, out to the right. And then we're going to add in gathering up all of the emotions that we talked about. So for me, I'm going to gather fear and grief and panic. So I'm going to breathe that in because it's in me, but it's not me. I'm going to connect to it. I'm going to grab it as I breathe it in, and I'm going to breathe it out. I'm going to let it go. In and out through your nose if you can. Breathe it in. And now you can follow with me and breathe it out, letting it go. And we just keep doing this. And in your mind's eye, see your mountain or your hill or whatever it was. See the layers of emotion being removed from your system. Those of you who struggle to move your head, you can do it just with your eyes, even with your eyes closed. You can even just imagine yourself if you don't have enough energy even to turn your head at this point, then just imagine yourself doing it. Okay. So let's all keep going, breathing in to the left, out to the right. And I want to challenge you to sort of do a very strong spring clean. You've got enough energy. Let's just strong spring clean this, just big armfuls of all of this. We don't have to pick each one up and then let go and be here for the next 100 years. Give yourself the opportunity to do 10 sweeps and it's going to be gone. You might feel emotions re-emerging. Just let them pass right through you. I can definitely feel my quavery feeling from panic and fear. Oh, excuse me. A lot moving for us. Okay, so let yourself do 2 or 3 more sweeps. If you still need to, just the biggest shovel you've got, getting rid of all of this. This no longer gets to live rent-free in your body. Great. And now let's come back, hands on your heart if you are able to. Let's connect now to what we alluded to before, connecting to both the Divine Mother and the Divine Father, to the belonging in the truth that we are divine. We wouldn't be here without a divine remit. Connecting to that divinity, connecting to the truth of your belonging, the truth of your power. And with that comes the compassion, because it is a hard time to be alive. And it is hard to be the first one to be breaking the old patterns. And it is hard to be the one always leading the way. And it is absolutely normal that we might stumble at times, that we might lose faith in our boundaries, that we might let brutality in, that we might not connect to our sea of chi, that we might let aspects come in and disturb our very essence. But it is also right and true that we pivot away from that, that we remind ourselves we are so much more than any time we might have stumbled. We are so much more than the contracts that the ancestors made. And with our divinity, we also have a sacred remit to forward face, to align to our curriculum, and to allow ourselves to be in adoration of our life and our body in this lifetime as an extension. Now, holding that truth of our divinity and the softness and compassion and self-love that comes with that, again, turning your head over the right shoulder and breathing in all of that love and softness and self-compassion, and breathing out anything that doesn't support that. Let's do that for a few more head sweeps. Breathing it in, letting go what doesn't support it. Every single cell that had been bound up with the emotions around the brutality, filling it now with that self-love. And I'm just adding in a bit of a detox here for everyone. because I can feel a fizziness kind of coming in that diaphragm area. So keep breathing, keep moving the energy, filling up every single cell, every energetic space with self-love, with compassion, with softness. And coming back front and center. And now I'm activating this into each and every one of you. First into the head and all the 100 acupuncture points in the head, and even the acupuncture point 100 meetings. This is where we give all the information to those great teachers and masters and our guides and the compassionate and loving ancestors. Give all of that information to the heavens. We are no longer the same person who first came on this call. We have fundamentally changed. And we're giving that information to every single meridian in our body. And that's moving down through the body and providing that information to every single cell. Now we're activating it into the heart, into the breath, into our lungs. So every time source meets us as we breathe in and we return to source, it is holding that vibration, that truth of our self-love, that truth of our bravery, of our softness, the truth that we can trust. And we are trusting. We're putting this into our creativity, into our digestive system, into our elimination system, into our willpower complex. An upgrade. And now just coming back into your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Stretch yourself out. Ambulate your limbs if you can. Drink some water if you've got some nearby. And start to notice again the support around you. Notice your community and the support you have from that. Notice your home, the support you have from that. The roof over your head. The place to cook food. Place of safety. Notice your body and that it allows you to integrate this world so beautifully into it. And that you have a new remit for what is allowed to come in and what isn't. Giving thanks for this body and its opportunities, the opportunities it provides for you in this life. The cuddling with a cat, the eating of strawberries, the listening to music, the holding of a loved one. Even if that loved one is you, maybe especially if that loved one is you. And so opening your eyes, coming back into the room. I'm going to stop the recording now, but thank you everyone who's listening to the recording.